Hey guys, I hope you're doing good. So in today's video, we're going to be discussing about my strategy for SBR, how I cracked SBR in the June 26 sitting with a score of 75. So to give you guys a perspective, I appeared for both AAA and SBR in the June 26 sitting. And by God's grace, I cleared AAA with a score of 62 and SBR with a score of 75 in my very first sitting. So that's a quick gist about that, guys. And before we move on to the video, a quick professional gist about me. So I'm Arvind, I'm an Indian chartered accountant. And by God's grace, I cleared all three levels of Indian CA in my very first eligible attempt. I've had 3 years of experience in statutory audit with PricewaterhouseCoopers, which is one of the big fours. And at present, I'm working with HSBC in the financial reporting domain. That's a quick professional gist about me, guys. So now moving on to the video. So let me just present my screen and take you guys through my strategy for SPR, right? Just a moment. I hope my screen is visible. Yep, it is visible now. Done. Okay, perfect, guys. So with regard to my strategy, so to give you guys a perspective on when I exactly started my preparation, I started my preparation for SBR in the first week of February. So with regard to the resources, guys, I used CA Vishal Jain's search classes for SBR from BB Virtuals and my Indian CA knowledge and my work experience in statutory audit obviously helped a lot. It contributed a great deal to the preparation because whatever we studied in our Indian CA final syllabus, by the name Ind AS is almost similar to IFRS, subject to certain carve-ins and carve-outs. So almost 80% of the syllabus, or I'd say even 85% of the syllabus was common between our Indian CA and SBR as a whole. So understanding the concept wasn't a very big deal for me. So if you're probably a first timer, like in the sense, if you're maybe claiming exemptions, maybe through your BCom or through any other qualification where you feel you haven't got decent exposure to IFRS, I'd suggest you to take classes for SBR because SBR is a voluminous paper. It's a mammoth paper. So if you're reading IFRS probably for the first time, I'd recommend you to go for classes. And Vishal Jain sir's classes were too good. I would definitely recommend them. So this is no sort of paid promotion. It's my personal experience, and basis that I would definitely recommend them. So these are the resources I use, guys, and my approach to the syllabus, guys. So I solved all questions from my Indian CA study material and from Vishal sir's question bank once and went through the important questions that I had marked the second time. So I did not solve any questions additionally from Kaplan or BPP or Study Hub. So these are the resources which I just stick to. I didn't do anything apart from this because I feel in a paper like SBR, there are very, very rare chances of a question probably getting repeated. Because in SBR, the questions are always going to be new every single time. The questions are going to get framed every single time afresh. So I would feel that the conceptual clarity is going to be the supreme differentiator in the exam. So that's one thing. And with regard to my first revision, guys, I completed my first round of revision at around the start of April, but I couldn't study much in April due to the March quarter close. I revised the entire syllabus in May after my quarter close along with AAA on the side. But since my first revision was solid, I was able to manage AAA. But if you're someone who is not from a background in relation to ACCA, I would suggest you to probably just give one paper in a particular sitting rather than giving two. But since I am already an Indian chartered accountant and the syllabus was more or less common, I could afford to go for two papers together. But I would really not suggest that if you don't have a background, right? That's one thing. So let's just quickly discuss the paper pattern and how you probably need to tackle the same, guys. So there are two sections. Your section A is going to be for 50 marks and your section B is going to be again for 50 marks. So your section A is going to have two questions. Your first question is going to be from group accounting, which is going to be for 30 marks. So in your group accounting question, you're going to have a statement of profit and loss or a statement of financial position or a statement of cash flow where you need to probably complete the same and you need to take into account certain adjustments which have been missed by the chief accountant. That's probably what you're going to be asked, and maybe a theory question in between that, probably in relation to groups, is going to be asked there. In your second question, which is in relation to accounting plus ethical issues, that's going to be for 20 marks, and your ethics weightage would be around 8 to 12 marks. So, basis this, you would have got an understanding that you would need to prioritize groups and ethics during your preparation, which is perfect. These are two chapters which you need to pay a lot of heed to and do a lot of practice for. And if I just come to the section B, guys, again, your section B is for 50 marks, as I said. So your third and fourth question are going to be for 25 marks each. And the third question can be from any IFRS. Your fourth question is predominantly going to be focused on the conceptual framework or your investor focus and current issues, which are going to be from your technical articles like your sustainability or crowdfunding or crypto accounting. So you need to be updated with the technical articles. So from this, I believe you have got the conclusion that you cannot predict the paper for SBR because your third question could be completely out of the box. And you can probably answer that only if you've studied all the topics without skipping any of the IFRSs. So that's a key takeaway that I would like to say. And that's the thing, guys. So if I have to come to the other key pointers, practice mocks and get them marked by an experienced tutor and learn and analyze your mistakes. Because if you yourself are going to mark your mocks, guys, that would lead to a self-review threat. Because as you're aware, 80 marks are for your exam and 20 marks are professional marks. So if you get them marked by an experienced tutor, an experienced tutor would probably suggest you constructively on how you can probably increase the chances of your professional marks and how you can probably elaborate your answers better and stuff like that. So I would suggest you to get it marked by a professional tutor on any given day. So that's that. And solve as many questions as you can during the study phase, guys. But don't solve from multiple sources. Just stick to a particular source, either BPP or Kaplan or your tutor's study material. Don't try to solve multiple questions. Yes, you need to solve a good number of questions, but that doesn't mean that you need to search for questions all the way and solve them, because as I said earlier, your questions seldom get repeated in the exam. So your conceptual clarity is going to override anything else, and that's that. And don't spend too much time in reading the bar IFRS text. That's again something I would suggest, because what happens is, yes, conceptual clarity is important, but don't overemphasize on conceptual clarity. You probably need to strike the right balance, in the sense you also need to have conceptual clarity and you also need to have decent question practice. You shouldn't be overdoing or underdoing any of these two. That's something important. And stay consistent, guys. This is where I feel many of the ACCA aspirants tend to miss out, because you should be taking out 20 minutes also on a hectic day. So don't get bogged down by the fact that I'm not able to get a study session of 1 hour or 1.5 hours on a hectic day. It's perfectly fine, guys. We are all human, and it tends to happen, because we cannot study for 1.5 hours on a hectic day, right? So that's why I would suggest you to stay consistent, because consistency is more important than the number of hours you're putting in. Even if it's like 20 minutes on a hectic day, that's good progress. Just pat yourself on the back for that. So it's perfectly fine. You already have a lot of chaos going on in life, and amidst that, if you're able to stay consistent, that in itself is a big win, I'd say. So that is that. And try dedicating more time on weekends and maximize your study time closer to the exam, guys, because I feel weekends are going to be the game changer. Because obviously people would try to pull out time on weekdays, but people become a bit complacent over the weekend. So I would suggest you to maximize the weekend also and increase the study hours on the weekend. And note down the tricky questions that you would want to revisit right before your exams, and maintain a register where you note down the mistakes you committed while solving the questions, guys, because this is very important. Because let's say you're giving more than one paper in a sitting, what might happen is you might not have a lot of time left before SBR. So you would want to probably have a quick list of things that you probably want to be going through in the last minute just before the exam. So I feel that these things come in handy at the time, rather than probably not knowing where to start from. This would be probably a more planned approach, I'd say. And solve questions on ACCS exam portal rather than on pen and paper, guys. This is a mistake I did. So I was too lazy to do this, but guys, I was saved because I naturally have a good writing speed. And only thing which I could have probably done better was if I'd maybe practiced more on the practice portal. I could have done better in the presentation aspect, but nevertheless, my attempt is done and dusted. Probably I'll look to implement that in the subsequent paper, which I would be appearing for. So that's that. And if you're a working professional, guys, plan your leaves, discuss them upfront with your employer. And let's say you aren't able to get a leave the day before your SBR, back calculate and plan your prep. So if you have to speak particularly about my case, I didn't have a leave before SBR, but I taken leave during the last week of May for AAA and SBR put together. And right after my AAA paper on June 1 also, I'd logged in for my office work. So I covered a major chunk of the syllabus before that itself, because I knew for the fact that I wasn't going to have a day off before SBR. So I was well prepared. So this is why I'm telling you guys to discuss upfront with your employer and agree on the leave dates, because this will help you to back calculate and plan what you need to do and how much you should be ideally covering before the exam, and what you can probably leave for the last few hours before the exam. This is really important. So I use my, so since I had very less time before the exam, since I was working even on the day before the SBR paper, I used podcast by my Indian CA professor as I was comfortable with the same, because as I earlier told you guys, Indians and IFRS aren't too different. So I was very comfortable with the same, because I'd use the same for my Indian CA preparation also. So in that way, I was able to cover a major chunk of the revision through the podcast itself the day before the exam. And from what I've heard, guys, for ACCA, Tom Clinton's podcasts are a lifesaver. So I would suggest you to check out the same. Again, this is no sort of paid promotion. This is based on the feedback I've heard from people. So you can probably consider checking out the same if you're probably short on time and you want to cover the syllabus as a final round of revision just before the exam. And in the 3 hours of exam, guys, this is a big don't. Don't start with the groups question. This is a mistake which most people tend to make, and a lot of the examiners reports have also stated this, that people probably tend to start with the groups question and they end up spending a lot of time on it and they're not able to cover the other questions. Because guys, let me tell you, your groups question could either be tough or it could either be moderate. There is very rare chance of it coming out easy. And what might happen is, let's say you get a statement of financial portion getting asked, and let's say your balance sheet is not tying out, it would depress you and it would increase your fear further. So I would suggest complete all your questions first and then probably come back to the groups question. So I would suggest that, let's say you spare around 40 minutes or 45 minutes for the groups question max. That's good enough. You don't need to score 30 on 30 in the groups question, guys. It's perfectly fine. If you're able to maximize your scores in the other questions, and let's say you're not able to perfectly answer the group questions also, you're going to have step marks. So you don't need to break your head too much over it. Just focus on answering the questions with a decent rational mindset and decent steps presentation, and you're good to go. Even if you're not able to arrive at the final answer, it's perfectly fine. You're going to get step marks in ACCA, and that's not at all an issue. So if you are probably stuck in a particular question, guys, just move on. So this is something which Tom Clinton popularly says as JMO. Don't waste your time too much over a particular question in case you're stuck in the exam. Revisit it again in the end. And another important thing, guys, whenever possible, link your answers to the updated IFRS 18 terminologies to answer, guys, because as you're aware, you've got 20 professional marks, and this would again be taken into account for the professional marks computation. So you can refer Kashif Kamran's YouTube video and Mustafa Mirziwala's video for the same on YouTube. They were very useful in terms of explaining the IFRS 18's gist, and that would help you in exam presentation also, and would help you to secure the much needed 20 professional marks. And another important thing, guys, about conceptual clarity, I see a lot of aspirants not understanding the difference between management performance measures, which is coined as per IFRS 18, and your alternate or additional performance measures. This is a very, very important distinction. And as I told you guys, the ACCA Institute is testing a lot of questions by linking IFRS 18 off late. So it's imperative that you get an understanding on this and all the little nuances in the syllabus also. And with regard to how much time you probably need to be allocating, guys, you've got 80 marks for 180 minutes. Dedicate close to 2.25 minutes per marks. Like, let's say if it's a 25 marks question, the ideal time that you would need to be allocating would be somewhere around 56.25 minutes. But guys, let's not have a hard and fast rule here, all right? Like, let's say it's a deviation of 2 minutes here and there. It's perfectly fine. You can make up for the same later on. And in case you feel stuck at any question at a particular point of time, as I said just a couple of minutes back, just move on, revisit it later. No one is going to penalize you for that. It's perfectly fine. So that's it, guys. I think that's a quick gist about what I did for SBR, what I probably could have done better to enhance my score, and what you guys can probably take home from this. So guys, if you have any further doubts in relation to SBR, feel free to leave the same in the comments, and I will respond to the same in the comments. Or if you feel your doubt is probably of a personalized nature, just hit me up on Telegram or LinkedIn. I've given my ID in the description of the video and pinned the same in the first comment also. So you can feel free to reach me out there as well. And with regard to AAA, guys, I've already uploaded my strategy video on YouTube. You can check that out in the first pinned comment or in the description of this video. So you can find that there and you can check that out as well. And guys, one more thing. So if you're someone who's new to the channel, you can find a lot of content in relation to how audit works practically in the real world. So if you're probably looking for an internship in audit, or if you're an ACCA affiliate who's looking to start your corporate career with audit, you can find a lot of videos here as a part of the Audit Practically playlist, which are going to be a real game changer. So do feel free to check out those as well. And all the very best, guys, for your sitting. Keep learning, keep growing. Wishing you the best, and always feel free to reach out to me, right? Cheers. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye. Signing off.